Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to create amazing sounds with Retrologue. We're going to talk about many features, the oscillators, the filters, and some other really cool things that you can do with it to create amazing sounds. So let's get started. Tip number 1, explore the different oscillator types. As you know, Retrologue has some really big sounding oscillators. But when it comes to the oscillator type, that's where it becomes very interesting. So for example, if I have a sawtooth oscillator like this, obviously it's a single oscillator, but I can choose between many different types for this type of oscillator. For example, I can select sync. Now when I change the shape, check what happens. Now this gives you even more flexibility. The sync type allows you to create some really rich sounds that are great for leads, for example. The next type is the cross modulation type. Again, very different character. This becomes a little bit atonal, so it's great for creating effects, great for creating build-ups. Of course, you can modulate this and you can assign it to a controller like this. So with this type, Retrologue can really scream. And we haven't even added filters or distortion or resonance. It's a very powerful type. Now the next type I want to talk about is XOR. Again, very different. So again, very different sound with this type. And the last type is the multi, which is extremely useful if you're trying to create big sounds, bigger than life, big pads, leads, stabs, all those things. And let me show you what this multi type does. So basically, when we start, it sounds exactly the same like the single oscillator. But now I can start adding more numbers. I can add more voices to this. So I can go up to 8 voices like this. And check what happens when I do this. So not only it adds more voices, but it spreads them across the panorama. So the sound becomes wider. And we can actually check this very easily on my stereo vector scope. Let's go with one voice first. And as you can see, it's completely mono right there. And now when I start adding more voices, and now of course I can detune these voices and get a bigger sound. So different oscillator types, try them out. You can get some incredible sounds out of them. Tip number 2 is the different filter types. And in Retrologue, we have so many different filters to choose from. You can really get amazing sounds out of this. For example, we have the low pass 24 filter. So let's try and create an envelope really quickly. Let's add some resonance. And now let's compare it to the 18-pole filter. Slightly different sound. Let's try the 6. 24 dB. A little bit darker. 6 dB. Still fat, but it's a little bit more bright. And of course, we also have the high pass and low pass combination filters like this. Then we have the really interesting all pass filters. very, very interesting character from these filters. Of course, we have the normal high pass. And then on top of that, we have the distortion module that allows you to create some really interesting effects. For example, let's try and create this like a big bass sound. And now let's try and activate the distortion. So this will immediately give me more girth to the sound. Now we also have the clip distortion, which is transistor-like distortion. So it can become really gritty, this one. Then we have bit reduction, very, very interesting effects right there. So again, Retrologue can become really, really aggressive if you wanted to. Rate allows you to create digital distortion using aliasing. So it sounds very, very interesting. And Rate KF allows you to also have key follow for this effect. So you can hear how many different sounds you can get just by changing the distortion type. So this is an incredibly powerful feature. Distortion types, you have to check them out. Tip number 3 is the super powerful matrix. And this is the hub where you can start modulating parameters with other parameters and LFOs, envelopes with anything in Retrologue. For example, let me show you how you do this. It's actually very, very simple. You have 4 different pages. So let's try and assign a few things to the first page first. We just did something really cool with the distortion right there on this sound. So why don't we try and modulate this distortion with one of the LFOs? So what I want to do is I want to select my source, which is going to be my LFO right here. So I can have any of these waveforms. Then I want to have this LFO control. That's where I select my destination. And let's say I want to control the distortion. So now I can set up a depth. Now you can see that the distortion parameter is modulating using this LFO. And of course I can change the frequency, the depth, and I can change the wave. Let's turn it into random. So see how complex of a sound I managed to create just by using one LFO and the distortion parameter like that. Now, of course, if I want to, I can have this LFO only when I use a modifier. So let's say I want to assign my mod wheel on my keyboard as the modifier. So it's as easy as doing this. I can go to modifier, select mod wheel, and now all these things that I programmed just a minute ago, I can control them using the mod wheel. For instance, because now the mod wheel controls the depth. And it's as easy as that. Now let's say I want to also assign a reverb to my mod wheel. I can go to my effects, go to my reverb, and let's add this reverb. Now all I need to do is right click, scroll down to modulation wheel, and I can click on enable mod wheel. And now I can control the reverb mix using the mod wheel. So as you can see, in no time, I can assign so many complex parameters into my mod wheel and into LFOs, envelopes, so I can create very, very complex sounds. very, very quickly. Now, here's another very cool pro tip that will allow you to work even faster with Retrologue when you want to assign things like LFOs or envelopes to a specific parameter and control it. Of course, you can do everything with a matrix, but I'm going to show you a very cool way of doing it. Here's how it works. Let's say I want this LFO to control the cutoff frequency of the filter. Of course, I can use the matrix and assign things manually, but I can also use these 3 lines here. See, I can drag and drop into the parameter that I want, for example, resonance, cutoff, distortion. So I can let it go right here. And now, as you can see, LFO1 is assigned to the cutoff, and we also have the correct depth, so I can immediately hear the effects on the sound. And I can change the frequency now, of course. Now, let's say I want to assign LFO2 maybe to the resonance. And just click on LFO2, drag, drop, and now we have the resonance assigned to LFO2. Maybe I want to assign the amplifier envelope to the distortion. Go like this. And again, everything is assigned very, very easily. And you can keep on doing this. For example, I can go to LFO3 and add this to my oscillator volume. And then I go to LFO4 and I can assign this to, let's say, my course value right here. And as you can see, it moves on to the next page of the matrix. So very, very cool and fast way of assigning sources to destinations in Retrologue. Tip number 4 is the ultra powerful arpeggiator in Retrologue. And here's how you can access the arpeggiator. You just click on this button right here, and here we are in the arpeggiator page. But with Retrologue, the arpeggiator can do so much more than just triggering notes. So let me show you. Let's turn it on. And of course, when you turn it on, you immediately have a normal arpeggiator with 1 step. So we have different modes. We have the step mode, which basically takes into account the number of steps that we have over here. We also have chord mode, where we can basically trigger chords. We also have the up and down modes. So this is the up mode, down mode, and of course the usual up and down modes. So quite a few different things that you can try. We also have a random mode. So it will trigger the notes of the chord that I play in a random order. But let's go to step mode and let's start adding some steps into the arpeggiator. So let's add, let's say, 8 steps. And to begin with, I can control the velocity of these steps right here. So for example, if I change the velocity like this, so it becomes already very dynamic. Now let's try and add different pitch to each of the steps. So let's say I want to add 7 semitones up on this step, and let's say 12 semitones on step number 6. As you can see, I can change the gate length of every step. Or I can extend them. So I can create some really complex patterns right there. So let's turn it off. And now let's try and add some legato steps. It's just as easy as clicking on one of these legato icons right here. So when you do this, you will see that you will get a legato transition between step 3 and 4, for example. So you can get a very different groove, a very different feeling when you add the legato notes. Now, there's much more than this. Let's say I want to add a controller lane to this arpeggio. And in Retrologue, we have 3 controller lanes that we can take advantage of. So in this case, I might use control lane 1 to control the pitch cutoff. So all I need to do is just add a little bit of depth, and now I can adjust the steps. Or go the other way. can go bipolar, so I can have both sides of the filter cutoff point. So that's extremely useful because it gives you even more variation. Now let's say I want to assign this to panning. So I'm going to add a little bit of depth, and now I'm going to go like this and see what we can come up with. And I'm going to turn it into bipolar so we have both left and right channels right there. So when I'm in the center, I'm going to get the sound on both left and right channels. But when I go all the way up, all the way down, I'm going to get the left-right effects. And I can create some really complex patterns right there. And maybe on the last one, I'm going to add some resonance. So you can see it's very, very easy to start creating really, really sophisticated patterns in the ARP editor. Now, the last thing I want to show you is the performance controls. And I can add swing like this. I can just move the swing control right there. And add a little bit of swing to the arpeggio. And I can change the gate scale. So I can make the steps a little bit shorter or longer. Can change the octaves. So this basically changes the octave range. And I can also change the velocity. Now, let's say that I have created a pattern like this and I want to save it as a MIDI groove, as a MIDI file. It's just as easy as going into the export section right here, hit record, and then play it. Now I can turn off record and then I can just drag the MIDI part into my DAW just like that. Super, super simple. So ARP section, try it out. You can create some really awesome stuff with it. And tip number 5 is using the super powerful effects sections. So let's go to the effects page. And right here, we have quite a few effects to play with. Let's try, first of all, the Resonator. This is a really, really cool effect because it can emulate some human vowel sounds using some really interesting filters. So let's try it out. And of course, it's already LFO enabled. Now let's go and add a phaser maybe. Here we have the phaser section. So now I can basically mix the phaser effect in, and let's see how this sounds. And I can add a chorus effect on top of the phaser. Which of course can be chorus, it can be flanger, it can be ensemble type of effect. Now let's add some... That's very cool. Now let's add some delay right there. And also some reverb. So you can see the effects section in Retrologue is immensely powerful. You can do some really crazy sound design right there. So there you go, guys. These are 5 tips that you can use to create amazing sounds in Retrologue. But don't forget, there's so much more inside this amazing synth. So dig in, explore it, have fun, and happy sound designing. See you in the next one.